The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your host Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email right now. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. To your host of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to this episode of Down the Garden Path, where each week we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is important and possible to have great gardens that are low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen. I'm Joanne Shaw, host of this show and landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 11 years. It is a design-only business here east of the GTA. And with me usually is my co-host Matthew Dressing, but he is on holidays. He is a horticulturalist and landscape designer and owner of Natural Affinity Designs. So Matthew and I enjoy doing Down the Garden Path with you each week to bring you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you from each other, from our research, or from guests that join us on the show. We welcome your questions via social media, emails, or calls. And tonight, like Gary said, you can email us at instudio101@gmail.com. I want to thank you for joining us down the garden path tonight, and to remember to subscribe to Down the Garden Path podcast on your favorite podcast app. So then you'll get notified every time we upload a new show. And if you miss it or don't catch all of it, you can get caught up. So thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And tonight we are mid-July, mid of the summer. It's finally here.
It is, thank God, but we need water, as your guest will tell us.
Yes, we need it. Well,
terrible.
Can't believe we're asking for water after all the water we had. But tonight, we're calling tonight's show Perennial Talk. And joining me is a repeat guest that we love having here is Dawn Golloher, owner of Gardens Plus. And perennials are her thing, so I'm excited that she's joining us to talk about them. Gardens Plus is located in Donwood, 2 kilometers east of Peterborough. The business was established in 1995 as a garden installation business, with the retail location opening in 1997. So 2019 marks their 22nd season. Can't do the math. They have now it's an online store as well. So the website is www.gardensplus.ca, and it shows all the perennials that Dawn sells with pictures, easy online ordering for shipping across Canada, as well as pickup if you'd like to reserve your selections ahead of time. The physical nursery is open 5 days a week. They are closed Mondays and Tuesdays from early May to July. And they offer a unique experience with display gardens up front, greenhouses, and stock beds out back. Gardens Plus specializes in hostas, daylilies, coneflowers, and coral bells. Really, her focus is growing easy care perennials so that you can enjoy your gardens, not just work in them. And thank you, Dawn, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
You're welcome. And Gary gave us 3 minutes to talk before the show, and he had to cut us off, right? Because we always have lots to talk about.
And I have something I want to talk about right away.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We've had, as you know, Joanne, we have other gardening shows on the air here.
Yes.
And someone was talking about edible perennials.
Yes.
The other day, and they went through my garden in the back, and they said I have a whole salad back there.
Ah.
So I wonder if Dawn is going to touch base on some of the perennials that people grow that they can actually eat.
Okay. All right.
So that's just a question for me.
Yes.
So I can say that there's a lot of perennials that you can eat, but it doesn't mean that they're going to digest well.
Or even taste well, right?
Yeah, taste well, or some of them have other side effects. Stomach issues. I'll just leave it at that. There's not any perennials that I can think of that I would eat. I mean, they look beautiful on a plate. Pansies, violas, I guess.
Yeah.
There are a couple that come to mind, but they're the big thing that in my world is the daylilies, but you can't eat very many petals. Like, you can't eat very much of them.
You know what? That's so funny you say that, because we had, do you know Nikki Jabbour?
No.
She's in the East Coast, and she's written a few books, and we had her on a few, maybe a couple months ago now. Really veggie garden, that's her specialty, is growing vegetables and seeds and growing unusual things. Is her latest book, Veggie Garden Remix. That's a little shout out to Nikki. And she talked about that we can eat all parts of the daylily, including the roots, that they taste like finger-laying potatoes. And also, we couldn't eat our hostas now, but when the hostas are first just coming up, just poking through the ground, they kind of look like little asparagus tips.
Yeah,
she had a name for them in her book, which I don't have handy, that you could fry them up like asparagus.
And I've seen that on social media,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't ever sacrifice my hostas.
I know. Well, then she said you can't take like the whole plant. You got to only take like one or two. So it's not really a meal necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. Gary, I mean, and I think there's some things that you can eat. Like, I've cooked before with lavender, that type of thing.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
the aromatic stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And we want to say hello to Matthew, too, because I believe I'm seeing a lot of... he's in Chicago, you said?
He is, as Chicago
I'm
popping
seeing
up.
a lot, yeah. So, so Matthew's probably listening. So anyways.
There you go.
Well, thank you for that, Dawn, because when the gentleman... went through my yard in the back, he was talking about hostas and things, and he was saying, well, you could do this with that, and they taste good this way and that. And I'm looking at him and freaking out, thinking, what am I, a rabbit? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. So anyways.
I'll stick to lettuce.
Yeah, me too.
Well, there's lots of weeds, actually. So I was just on a garden tour. That's completely off topic, Dawn. We'll get to you in a second. But I was on a garden tour on Saturday, and one of the stops was she was growing a lot of herbs and a lot of quote-unquote weeds that were quote-unquote nutritious. So purslane, which is, she said was the only thing. We see it as a weed, and it is grown commercially as well, so they look slightly different. And she informed us that it was the only green growing living thing that actually has the same omega-3, I believe, that like salmon has.
Wow.
So, so I was kind of but so all of everybody on the tour is like, well, this is the purslane that we like all weed out of our garden, and nobody could imagine eating it. But so it definitely changes when you learn about those other plants that have been around a long time, and a lot of our weeds are plants from other parts of the world, right?
That's right, or in earlier days.
For
medicine. And I will definitely email you a couple of speakers that I've listened to. Not that I remember a lot of what they've said, but different things. And it's a great topic.
Yeah, for sure. So yes. So one of the big things. So now we're back to our perennial talk. We want to remind everyone that even though it is July 8th, it is not too late to add perennials to your garden.
No.
Right? The gardens, I don't know why after the long weekend, people just think, okay, garden's done.
Yeah.
And
they've just totally given up on them. And with the spring that we've had, they're going, okay, like, I can understand, no offense, that, it's getting a little bit late for the annuals because you're not getting that much of a season, but they give you color, add them in, whatever. But, yeah, perennials, you can keep going, especially in the shade. And the big thing is just pick your times well. Like, when we had that heat wave, don't be planting. I had a lady in, and, I'm always, as people are kind of cashing out, I'm giving them advice at the till, and I said, and don't be in a rush to plant that. It was like Friday or Saturday, and it was really hot, and I said, and she looked at me, and then I said, it's better for the plant, and it's better for you. Like, wait a few days. The heat is supposed to break a little bit on Sunday, plant when it's cooler, and the plant will love you for it. And, like, I was just so surprised that people didn't know, don't plant stuff when it's hot out.
Right.
And even when we have the great weather like now, because it's turned the tables again, which is great. We don't have that heat wave right now. Still, planting in the cooler part of the day and is so much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think, and I get that question a lot, even with trees and shrubs. Like, people say, well, is it best to, which is better, spring or fall to plant? Like, now I can't do, someone asked me even today, can I move my perennials, do I wait and do it next spring? And it's like, no, you can do it in the fall, and you can still add things. I mean, you can. Yep. I mean, you can't plant something and then go away for 2-week vacation. So
there you go.
Right?
Perfect.
You know, so it's common sense. So if you are around and you can, make sure it's getting watered.
Yeah.
Then whether you plant it in July or you planted it in May or you planted it in September, there's really no difference, right?
No. And watering deeply, that's another thing that I think we've talked about that before on the show. So many people, they get the sprinkler out, or they just, give everything a little bit of a, little watering, a couple minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
I always say water less often. Like, you can get away with watering new stuff, once every 3, 4, 5 days, depending on the temperatures, but water deeply so it gets right down into the roots, because otherwise you can almost turn away and they're sulking again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've just cooled off the plant from the top. That's all you've done. You've never actually got any water to the root.
Right. And you want to make sure they're going to come back next year. So also getting their root, like encouraging their roots to go down for the water is the best thing, because then those are the tough guys. Like, those are the ones that will make it through the winter.
That's right.
Especially if we have a lot of freeze and thaw type of things. So definitely. So everyone, if you're just joining us, we are doing Perennial Talk with Dawn Golloher with Gardens Plus. You can email us your perennial questions at instudio101@gmail.com. So I mean, there's lots. How are things? How are your perennials doing?
They're doing great. It was a slow start. Because I have the mail order, of course, no one knew in January it was going to be a slow start.
Right.
So there was, when people order with me online, I commit to a date based on where they live, where I know some of the stock would be new stock, so it would be in a pot, so I could ship that, early. But if it had something in the order that was in one of my stock beds, if I have something that's in a stock bed a little shadier, then I would, set the date accordingly. And this year, because of everything being so slow to come up, there was a lot of extra emails back and forth, having delay orders and stuff. But, it's been good. I think getting the word out there about, easy care. And, of course, more and more people are learning about Gardens Plus, which is great. I always say better late than never.
That's right.
22 years. Where have you been?
Yeah.
But it's been a good season, and the online just keeps growing and growing. It got to the point where I'm going, okay, it's too hot. I can't ship. So June 1st, I think I started saying I was just going to take orders to ship just overnight, because I still had orders to get through and out from May dates. Orders placed in May, and then I think tomorrow is the day I have on my website that, like, overnight orders aren't usually that much of an issue, but now it's keeping the website up to date with the inventory, right?
Right.
There's no way you can do it. My outside point of sale isn't connected to the website, so if somebody comes in and buys 6 of something and the website says I have 10, the website's still going to say I have 10, and I really only have 4. Right?
Yeah.
So for the accuracy thing, so we're going to stop taking orders on the website. People can just come, plan and pick from all the stuff that's potted, and everything's nice and healthy. And
okay, so what is that
tons of
date? So
selection.
you're not going to ship anymore as of?
Not taking any more orders after tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And then what'll happen is, so we're still open here retail for 3 weeks, so they can plan a trip to come and pick out from the stuff that's potted. And then when we close, we'll redo the inventory again for fall shipping. And then I'll start taking orders sort of mid-August.
Okay.
And start shipping when it's cooler then again for fall.
Okay, so then you open up again for August.
Yep. And then that'll just be a short little window as well, and then bang, start ready for next year.
Excellent.
And then start taking orders in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are your customers? Are they majority in Ontario? Or are you finding you're doing BC, you're doing Quebec?
I would say the majority is Ontario, but we do ship like out west, down east, Newfoundland.
Okay.
All over the place.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'd say Quebec would be the second from Ontario.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Actually,
Yeah,
I gave you a shout out. I was visiting a friend who had her girlfriend that she went to university with who was from rural Quebec. And she asked me about plants. And I said, oh, you can order from. And I gave her your
awesome.
website and everything. So
And
yeah.
there's so many remote places that don't really have bigger garden centers where you have the choices and or ones that like specialized or whatever, or all of a sudden somebody starts collecting hostas or daylilies or whatever. And so it's cool.
Yeah, no, I think
really well.
you've really serving a niche, aren't you?
Yeah. And I mean, I've been shipping since 99.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the older companies that aren't the big, huge companies that's still doing it. And the compliments and the emails, it's just, oh my gosh, I open up the emails and these people give me the biggest hugs. And it's so cool. I'm going to post more of them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool to get the feedback.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. So we do have our first question, Dawn.
Awesome.
Bob has written in, and he said, hi, Joanne and Dawn. Thank you for taking my question. You're welcome, Bob. What are the best perennials for a shady yard?
Oh,
ooh.
Okay. So when people say shade to me, I guess he's meaning full shade. The only thing that scares me about full shade is often we're talking about a lot of trees. It's not always the thing that gives shade. Sometimes it's the neighbor's house or whatever, right? But so there's dry shade, and then there's sort of, we'll say, regular shade. So hostas and ferns, Solomon seal, corbels, heucheras, some of them love shade. You have to watch.
Okay.
Because some of them, like, they're all great for part shade, right, which is a little bit of sun, and usually not the afternoon sun. We're talking morning or evening sun. But all the corbels can take part sun, and some of them can take full shade. And the tiarellas, the foam flowers, they can take full shade. There's a new, it's a heucherella, but it's called Red Rover. It's really cool and colorful, right? That's where you get your color.
Right.
With the corbels, the tiarellas, and the heucherellas. Anyways, Red Rover's a really cool one. There's another new one out this year. It's called Spearmint. It's a proven winner. So is Red Rover, but it can take full sun to full shade, they say.
Oh, and what color is Spearmint?
It's kind of a silver green, like a green with a silver overlay.
Okay.
But the flowers are a deep red pink, which I love because it brings in the hummingbird.
Ah.
Right? And then the other thing, so if you do have dry shade and you're adding, I always suggest when you're making new gardens or adding plants, add some compost to your soil, because that'll amend the soil so that it will hold the moisture. If it's big maple trees or cedars, they're absolute worst to be trying to plant under because the cedar roots are fibrous.
Yeah.
And so then I'm always, every 4 or 5 years you want to kind of dig up, get some of those fiber roots away, and then amend the soil again.
Right.
And then the maples are the other, because the canopy takes all the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to water more if it ends up being a full shade, really dry situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because anything, we've talked about that before on the show, like any nutrients that you add for the plants, the tree takes it, right?
Yeah,
so you're really fighting. So it's not as much the shade is the issue as in the nutrients in the water.
the water. That's right.
Under trees.
Yep. And then same with ferns. Like the ferns I love them. There's such texture. There's there's maidenhair fern, which is gorgeous. I can't ship that one, unfortunately, but it's so pretty. And then there's Japanese painted fern, which is great. But then the new one is Godzilla, and it's like I always say, it's like Japanese painted fern on steroids, because it'll get almost 3 feet tall and more like 2 feet wide. It's really big.
Wow.
But they need a little extra water as well.
Okay. So would they be good for like a wet area?
They can handle more wet, but they don't require wet.
Okay.
Right.
But sometimes that's a nice, like sometimes people have that shady wet areas.
Yeah.
Like if it's not caused by trees, right? If the shade is, let's say a corner of the house or trees in the distance, maybe not like right under a tree.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If it's not dry, then it opens it up to a lot more varieties, like bugbane symphysifuga. Of course, bug loss, brunera. That's another amazing plant, and it can handle it dry. That's the other thing. A lot of people, a lot of people are crazy about hosta, including me.
Mm-hmm.
And so often people will come in and they're just going to put hostas in a bed, and I discourage that because you'll have nothing in that bed until the hostas come up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you can put in some like lungwort, pulmonaria, some bug loss, the brunera.
Solomon seal adds a different height.
Yeah. You've got interest in the early spring and flowers. There's even some really nice primula. So they're blooming before the hostas are even up.
Yeah.
The other thing I love to add is natives, of course, but Virginia bluebells.
Oh, okay.
I love them. Martensia is the Latin, and but they basically go dormant when they're done. But,
right.
But that time, your hostas are up.
Right. So in the spring, would you sell those?
Yeah, in the spring I do, but they're not something that I ship.
Oh, okay. You don't ship them. Okay.
I don't ship them.
Yeah. Because they are a tender plant, right?
Well, they're kind of delicate. Like it's like bleeding heart, right? You can't ship a bleeding heart. They're hardy, but they're delicate to ship.
Yes.
And brittle. I guess brittle's the word. Or
Yeah. No, by tender too. I didn't mean like frost.
Yeah,
like
no, I know.
Yeah. I meant like fragile. Fragile, maybe that's the word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Picture. What's the China the Royal Dalton, right? A Royal Dalton of plants.
Exactly. The Royal Dalton of the native. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And the peat is another great native. I love it. Not Nepeta, sorry. Hepatica.
Hepatica.
It's a beautiful. I'm going to add it to the website because I have it every year, and it's such a cool plant.
Now, okay, give me. I'm not picturing that one. Give me the common name for that one.
Oh man,
I know. Put you on the spot.
Know what the common is of it.
I'm going to have to Google it. Okay.
It has. There's the one I carry. The variety is called sharp-lobed hepatica, and it has a little kind of 4-petal daisy-looking kind of flower close to the ground. And again, it's an early
anemone. Anemone.
Oh,
woohoo!
Okay. Right, there you go.
Thank you, Google. Woohoo! So that's good for early spring, right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And then the leaves are really cool, and they stay evergreen.
Oh, okay.
So they're cool.
Okay. Excellent. We do have another question. So Carol has written in and she's asking if you ship to the U.S. She lives in Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks. So no, unfortunately, just with our laws, right, Dawn?
Yeah, I could ship to the U.S., but we have to do a lot of paperwork, and I would just, because it's plants, I would be scared if anything ever got stuck at the border.
Right.
All it is you get the agricultural ministry person to come out and they do an inspection and make sure there's no soil. But Canada keeps me so busy. I don't go that way. And it's really interesting because a lot of the plants that, not a lot of them, but some of them that I bring in are from hybridizers from the States. So as far as the hosta, tell her to email me and I'll give her some of the hosta growers if that's what she's thinking. Cause there's some great ones that I buy from.
Yeah, there you go. So you can bypass Dawn altogether, Carol, and go direct. But and it's important to support local. Like I think, as much as I want to encourage everybody in Ontario and across Canada to support, your business.
Right.
Dawn, Carol, it's important to support local in your area too, right? Because it's
That's right.
independent, small growers and nurseries that are struggling because of the big guys and the big box stores and things like that. So I hope that's okay, Carol. Thank you for your message.
And that's the thing, that the mainstream big box stores and even the garden centers, they just don't have those varieties because they carry everything.
Right.
So that's where, because we specialize in easy care, we specialize in a lot of coneflowers, a lot of corbels, tons of hostas, tons of daylilies. So once people have that sort of first, we'll say 10 to 30 varieties, and then they go, oh, I really love these plants and how they're growing, and I see how easy they are. I want more of them because they're working.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we come in. So it's not like they're not shopping locally. They are, but then they just run out of the variety choices. So
right.
Yeah, that's our fit, sort of.
Right. Yeah, perfect. And I think a lot of times, too, that you don't notice in those stores, you see what's in bloom, right? So it's that impulse, like it's blooming now, that's what I'm going to get, that's what I'm going to take. One, it doesn't mean that was easy. Two, it doesn't mean it's going to bloom that long.
Yeah.
Three, it really doesn't even mean that it's hardy for your area. So I think when you look beyond the flower at the store, or when you shop at a place that specializes like you do, then I think you have a better chance of success, especially since most people are, even the gardeners amongst us, are looking for low maintenance.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And, and like your little tagline, which I love, where did it go about working? What did you say? What did I write? I'm like, so you can enjoy your gardens and not just work in them.
Yeah.
So let's talk about sunshine.
Okay.
For a minute. Oh, another question George has written in. What is Dawn's website and where is she located? Which is a good thing to remind everybody. So why don't you go ahead?
So the website is gardensplus.ca. So remember the S in garden. And we're located 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers east of Peterborough. So depending on where George is coming from, we're literally 2 turns off the 115 highway. So 401, 115, take Television Road, come straight down, turn right, and we're 1.4 kilometers from that corner. Like, it's so easy. But if he goes on my website, there's a little Google Map thing, and he can just click on there. And our hours are on there as well to remind people that our gardens and greenhouses are closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. And we have regular hours, but just until the end of July. And then after that, it's just by be the website when it's ready again in middle of August.
Okay. Because, you don't open up again in September.
I don't.
You don't,
no.
right?
No.
Because you're getting everything ready.
They can do orders online for pickup, and then we would just arrange with the client to what works for
Perfect.
pickup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good to know, so that you still can place an order, and that you're there. You're just getting ready for next year and potting things back up, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are a small operation, but you do a lot of volume for what you have, right?
Yep. And every year we keep adding new things and listen to what our clients want, and we do some custom ordering as well, but not anymore, obviously. We're not bringing any more inventory in.
Right. So far this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we will be for next year again.
That's right.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's lots more on Perennial Talk, but why don't we pause for a commercial break? And thank you for listening to us here Down the Garden Path on Reality Radio 101. We'll be right back.
Relax by the Bay B&B offers the perfect holiday for the adventurous traveler or those who just want to escape from their busy lifestyle and rest. Book your comfortable stay in historic Margarettsville, Nova Scotia by calling 902-982-2302 and find panoramic views of the Bay of Fundy while enjoying the warm hospitality of Heber's Baked Goods and April's breathtaking watercolor paintings. Stay for a week or a weekend in your own suite, complete with private bath. Call 902-982-2302 to book your stay now. RelaxByTheBayBnB.com. Arrive as guests and leave as friends. The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Welcome back to Down the Garden Path with your host, Joanne Shaw, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email right now. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right back to your host, Joanne Shaw.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome back, everyone, to this episode of Down the Garden Path. It is Perennial Talk with Dawn Golloher, owner of Gardens Plus. Welcome back, Dawn.
Thank you.
So we've talked a bit about shade, and I thought we could talk about the people that have sun and more sun than they know what to do with. So what are some of your, let's say, more popular ones that you'd like to talk about?
I think when we talk about sun, we obviously, the ones that can take the heat, the ones that, I love ones that bloom a long time. So the top of the charts for me would be coneflowers, echinacea. There's so many different varieties out there other than the standard Magnus, which, reseeds everywhere, it's a great plant, and the chickadees love it, or the finch.
Right, goldfinches, yeah.
Goldfinch, yeah. There's a lot of new varieties. The best tip I can give people with coneflowers, especially this spring, everything was so late, and there were so many people that thought they lost a lot more than they actually did. But because we lost patience, the winter was so dark and it was so cold, the spring took so long. I suggest for people, when they do buy coneflowers, every coneflower that goes out here, I always end up telling them, leave your stems of your coneflowers all winter so you know where they are in the spring. Because when they're little, I think a lot of people are popping them out thinking they're a weed because they don't recognize, because they're so little, they take so long. Then when the soil heats up, that was the other thing that happened this year. I was selling coneflowers, and I was telling them, please do not put them in the ground until your temperature of your soil is warm, because the soil wasn't warming up this spring so quickly. We were past the long weekend. We were probably in the middle of June, and I was still probably telling people that.
Yeah, because the nighttime temperatures, that's where we need to stay warm, right? To heat up the soil. That's
right, exactly. One of the new ones this year, it's been, I love it. It's called Coral Craze. It's kind of, if you imagine an orange and a pink, an orange with pink overtones, kind of.
Okay.
It's really cool. A lot of people think all the coneflowers are really tall, but this one's like 26 inches, so that's not too bad. I mean, it's not short by any means, but it's really cool. So it's Coral Craze. It's fairly new. This is the first year I've seen it available for me to bring in. Coneflowers are drought tolerant, which is great. Once established, they need to, get established, and they can. They're great pollinators, of course, and they bloom and bloom and bloom. Like, they just go on and on and on until frost. And they love full sun. They love dry soil. What's not to love, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And we were talking about my love of the Nepeta, the cat mints, earlier as well before the show. So you mentioned there. So I love it. And by far, I think because it blooms so much earlier than my coneflowers. Yeah. So I find that it is like the best pollinator in my garden.
Yes, it's a great pairing with coneflowers as well. And they're all those purple-blue tones.
Right.
And I have this thing about hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds. And everybody thinks that it's just the magenta colors and the pinks and the reds. But hummingbirds love the catmint or
Really?
nepeta. They love them because of when you think about the shape of their flower, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the new ones that's out this year is called Cat's Pajamas, and it's only 12 inches to 14 inches tall. And it has really cool foliage. The foliage is green, just like the regular ones, but then it turns kind of an orangey color.
Really?
Orangey pink. Yeah, it's really pretty. And the flowers are like an indigo blue, which is cool.
Okay.
And then there's a Persian blue. It's another newer one. It's a little bit taller, but it's still only 14 to 18. And they're clumping. And as long as they have at least 6 hours of sun, they're good.
They're good. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's
there's,
good.
again, pollinators, the hummingbirds. Easy care, very drought tolerant.
Very. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And salt tolerant. I was saying that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of always looking for those, as I have what I call like a health strip that, my garden goes right to the curb at my house. And so the winters are tough, right? And the snowplow is piling stuff on that bed. So really I have it bordered with a lot of 3 different nepetas or catmints, and some of the other shrubs and stuff that seem to be doing okay. Sedums as well do okay. So so anything with more, with kind of has to have tough foliage, and they are dying back, so it's not, that does help. But still, there's a lot of salt in that edge, right?
Right.
And I know a lot of my clients and a lot of homeowners are getting rid of their front lawns or making more, or their boulevards. And so that area, if you're not salting it, then the city might be salting it, that type of thing. So knowing some plants that are tough and that can handle that extra bit of salt is a good thing.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then daylilies are another one.
Okay.
So you have to remember there's a whole bunch of different things with daylilies. So with daylilies, there's when they bloom, so extra early, mid, and late. And then there's that combination of some of them that are, all the way through. And then what I like to do is offer always the ones that rebloom. That means you're going to get extra shoots with flowers.
Okay.
Some of the new ones this year, there's one called Handwriting on the Wall. The flower on it is 6 inches wide, which is really great. It's peach, but with a wine purple eye.
Oh, okay.
And it's 2 feet tall, which is nice, and it's a rebloomer.
Okay.
It hasn't quite started to bloom here yet. Things are, again, now, like with all the rain we had in the spring, oh my goodness, the buds on the daylilies around here in the display gardens are just like, whoa, it's going to be so amazing, but they're going to be probably our peak for daylilies will be probably the last 2 weeks of July, I would think. And then Storm Shelter, that's another one. It's, oh my gosh, it is a light purple color with a purple eye, a purple edge, a green throat. I wish that we could just show everybody on a picture, but anyways.
But are they on your website?
They are. It is on my website.
Okay.
And the picture of Storm Shelter is the picture I took of it when it bloomed last summer. I just could not wait for it to bloom because, we get these tags. Storm Shelter is from Proven Winter, so their pictures are really good pictures. But when it bloomed, it just was like, wow. It's just amazing.
Excellent. So everybody looking for a unique perennial and daylily, you can check out a picture of it at gardensplus.ca. So that's great. Cool. Interesting names. Like, that's really Handwriting on the Wall and Storm Shelter. Those are really interesting. Yeah,
and obviously it's the person that's the hybridizer, right? Behind the plant that gets to choose the name. And there's a couple others that are doubles, so that imagine more petals, right? Lacy Doily and then Unlock the Stars. And they're both really pretty pinks. And they're not too tall either, like 26 inches and 18 inches, which is nice because these little daylilies, the ones that are like 18 inches, or there's one I've got, it's called Pennyworth. It's a tiny, tiny yellow. It's 10 inches. You can put them along the front of the border and put them right in there with those new bee bombs that aren't very tall and have the hummingbirds all over them as well. Okay, so what's the 10-inch one called? The 10-inch one is called Pennyworth. Pennyworth. And it's the smallest one I have in height plus in bloom size. It's only, I would say the bloom is like an inch across. Oh. And it's a pretty butter yellow, like Happy Returns, opposed to like the Stella gold yellow. Yeah. It's a nicer, softer yellow. Okay. Yeah. And the 18-inch one? The 18-inch one is Lacy Doily,
Okay, Lacy doily.
Yeah, and it's a double pink.
Double pink.
Yeah.
Have you found, Stellas have been around and they've been kind of tried and true and they've been a long bloomer.
Yep.
But have you found people have kind of been Stellaed out?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's funny because people will come to the nursery and they'll say, and they don't sometimes understand the name thing and how important it is because it's the person. It's like changing the name of your child, right?
Right.
So they'll say, do you have Stella in a different color? And so we have other daylilies with different names that bloom long. Anyways, there's another one called Endless Heart, and it reblooms, and it's a great watermelon pink daylily. So that's what's happening is sort of everybody starts with Stella,
yes,
which is great, but it's such a good bloomer, then they expect that they all bloom like that.
Right.
And there's tons that do bloom well, but Stella, Happy Returns, and then this other one called Endless Heart or Early Bird Cardinal. It's one that they've branded a name, but I go by the name it was registered at.
Okay. Oh, so that's the same thing? Endless Heart and Early Bird Cardinal are the same?
Yeah, exactly
Okay.
the same. And you'll find both names on their tag.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's that watermelon pink one. And I think it's around 21 inches maybe. It's not super tall, but it's a very pretty, and it blooms a long time. But again, you get more blooms out of a daylily when you let them settle in, and then, they've got a good-sized clump. They're not going to bloom like crazy when you've just bought the pot the first year.
Right,
You're going to
right.
still get lots of bloom, but the more mature the plant.
Yes, and that I think goes for a lot of the perennials, right?
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
That whole first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap.
Yes, exactly.
So anything, we can't talk about perennial talk without talking about that people need to have a bit of patience. And I know I even struggle with that. I want something to perform. My Veronica, which I don't know if I can classify them easy care yet, and I'm still not sold on them in my garden, but I've been like, okay, where are you going to show up? It's like mid-July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, so I've been a little impatient about things. And when are you going to get bigger, right? So it's the
If it's Veronica and you love easy care, I would suggest trying the salvias.
Yeah, I do have those, and they are, next to the catmint, I'd say that I think catmint, salvia, and the Roseanne geranium are probably my go-to plants.
Oh, Roseanne's such a great plant.
I know. It really is, isn't it?
It just blooms and blooms and blooms, right?
Mm-hmm. But even it was late this year.
Oh, it was late, yeah.
Yeah. I would say the only one that wasn't late was was my nepeta, my catmint. But everything else, has definitely been late. But I think I'm always looking for something else in a different color.
Yes.
So
the salvias, there's white, bumble snow.
Oh.
And white's always nice because a lot of our listening audience, Joanne, probably, they go to work and then they come home and sometimes it's dusk and white pops.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
That's what I love about white.
Yeah.
Bumble snow salvia is a great white easy care plant, and it's not, I'm going to think, I can't remember, it's like 18 inches tall, I think. It's not very tall. And then there's another one called Bumbleberry. It's really cool.
Yeah,
like
white is a good
burgundy.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, white is good. White's always nice.
Yeah, that's something I don't think, because I think I have so many hydrangeas and I concentrate on them being the white, that I forget about white as far as the perennials goes. But I know I have some easy care carpet roses. And one of them is white, and I'm like, wow, that really pops.
It does pop.
Yeah.
But your salvia would be blooming way before your hydrangea, so...
Yes, that's true, too.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. The timing thing, right?
Yeah,
for another whole conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what else would you like to make sure we cover? Because, we just seem to fill up an hour with no problem.
We do. No problem, for sure, yeah. I always like to mention about the bee bombs because bee bombs get a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have a piece from Grandma's garden or whatever, which is great, but they're really tall and they're usually red and they spread like crazy.
Yes.
And there's a whole vast of new bee bombs / Monardas out there that are shorter, mildew resistant, and they stay clumped.
Okay.
Which is nice. And most of them are in the sort of pink to magenta, purple shades. So pollinators. You know, you've got the bumblebees, the hummingbirds, and the butterflies. Easy care. They're a little slow to come back this year, but they did, which is great.
Okay.
But they're a plant that I love to mix in the border. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize about bee balm is you can put them in full sun for sure, 100%, but they can also take part shade.
Okay. Even the shorter ones, the new varieties?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. What are some of your favorites?
There's a new one out this year called Electric Neon Pink. There's Proven Winners has a few, but Lady Orchid is stunning.
Ooh.
There's Grape Gumball. It's nice.
I remember you talking about that in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rockin' Raspberry is nice. Cherry Pops is nice. What's the other one? Cherise. Oh, shoot.
Because, you know, it's funny that I don't have any bee balm in my garden.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I wonder how it would be in the salt-tolerant area. That might be a test.
Yes, could be a good test because I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you a salt-tolerant category on your website in no time.
Because
I do. I think it's a really, you know, the edge of a driveway, the edge of a walkway, off the porch, right? Like lots of things. I think that's where people tend to be impatient too, where things get weeded out before they're ready, you know, because people want to clean up the front entrances. So I think a lot of those plants turn over quicker than they should because people think they didn't make it, but they just need to be a little bit more patient. So
that's right. And speaking about that, one of the big things that people were concerned about this year losing, and I didn't lose any. So that when I don't lose and other people say that they did, I always think, I wonder.
Right.
And then I say to them, okay, so one of the big things is lavender. So I'm in zone 5. I'm a little colder than where you're located, but so I only sell Munstead lavender. It's the hardiest for us, and it's the only one that I believe in that's easy care.
Right.
But I think being a extremely late spring this year, no matter where your lavender is, I mean, sorry, it should be in full sun, but it's always going to look dead in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a couple people tell me a couple things, so it's maybe a good opportunity to say, so number 1, don't cut it to the ground.
Okay. Yep.
And number 2, do please trim it. So what I always say
and there's a difference there, like that, you know what I mean? Yeah, there is a difference, everybody. Listen to Dawn. So, yes.
You can't take the crown off the plant. You can't you can't take the branching because it has nowhere to go. You've basically killed the top of the plant.
Yep.
So one lady, she cut it right to the ground because she heard you had to cut them back.
Yeah.
And a lot of things you do cut back to the ground, really close to the ground in the spring, like your sedums and your phlox and all that stuff. But with lavender, no, you need, so I always say, imagine a little cereal bowl, put it over, remember they used to do that with the kids with a haircut.
Yeah.
Give it that kind of a haircut. So give it a trim that looks like a little bowl. And I normally would do that early to mid-April. This year, you could have done it probably till the end of May, and it still would have been fine.
Yeah.
But then what happens is then your new growth comes up from that. And we didn't lose any. And there was a couple that didn't get trimmed this spring just because this spring was crazy with, you know, all those things.
Right.
But that's the only thing really that lavender needs. And just give it some patience and it will come back.
Yeah, I think that can be said for a lot of, that reminds me, lavender reminds me of, like, say, Rose of Sharon, the shrub, right? That it looks dead until it gets some heat at the end of June. So I think this is our new normal. I think these late springs are really going to be our new normal. I think the way that climate is changing, whether you believe in climate change or not, I think, May, June are going to be our spring, and then, we're still going to be planting into October, so I think things are going to shift. So I think people need to just relax a little bit in the spring, and make sure we're not cutting things really hard back in the fall. That's a whole other show on, making sure there's places for the pollinators and for food for the birds and all the healthy insects.
Pardon? For the snow to collect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because those sticks sticking up, the snow's going to collect. If we have snow, that's the other thing.
Yeah, yeah. If we have snow. So so definitely, not cleaning up and letting nature kind of take its course in the fall, and then being really patient of our cleanup in the spring. We don't have to be out there in the first sunny day in March, walking all over the garden, stepping on things and cutting things back.
Right.
So to really wait and see, like even lavender, I know I didn't touch mine until I got to see where was it growing and what areas did need to get cut and trimmed.
Yes. Yeah, you waited for the new growth to start at the base. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with waiting for that.
Yeah,
No.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
So we definitely want to encourage everybody. We want to remind them about your website, so gardensplus.ca, and you are only shipping until tomorrow. So if you want to order some plants, right, they need to do so today and tomorrow. Are you cutting off tomorrow night?
Yeah, tomorrow night. So that's for shipping as long as you're overnight. Because of the heat, we don't want to be shipping too far out of Canada.
Right.
Until we redo the site sort of in the end of August or so. But if you're that close, then, just come for a visit.
That's right. So you are open 5 days a week, just not Mondays and Tuesdays. And when does the store close?
So July 28th is our last day for this year for the store, like for the plants to be pre-potted, ready for pickup kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when the garden center and the gardens close.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll start working on the site for fall, and then, And daylilies in bloom starts the end of this week. There's not as much daylilies blooming right now, but there's 900 in the display beds. And of course, this is a great place to have, to come. We have free music concerts.
Oh, tell us about daylilies in bloom. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have display gardens. We're a little bit unique. And I always tell people, if you are coming for a visit, please just, keep conscious of our address, because you will drive right by, because the greenhouses are at the back.
Right, yes. I did that when I visited.
Yeah, I know. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So daylilies in bloom is basically, obviously our gardens are always open for people when our greenhouses are open, but you can come and see 900 varieties on display at their peak part of season. So there's a lot of daylilies I have here that I've spent a lot of money on, and you can come and see them all. I don't have them for sale because I've been gardening here myself for 23 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of cool, and tour around, and then there's some that we dig in the morning that we'll have specials on or whatever, and then there's some already pre-potted or whatever. But so while the garden center is open, it's usually the last 3 weeks of July, but this year I'm thinking it's more the last 2 weeks. I can see buds everywhere, but they haven't, there's like 10% right now blooming. So,
right.
Yeah.
So everything's
all that rain in the spring has been amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And now the sun, now the heat is helping them get going. So that's great. And so then once you wrap up in the fall, and then you get hard at work on the website and ordering, you can start ordering. People from across Canada can start ordering as early as January, right? Now, you're obviously not shipping.
No. Yeah, I know. And it's funny because some people think, I can't put my order in yet because she's going to ship it. No, I can't ship it. It's frozen or it's not even here yet.
Right.
Yeah. No, we start shipping. We really take care in picking that date that works well for you, as well as obviously the plants have to be available on this side. So we sometimes run into the situation where the people in BC want their plants in March and April, but we can't ship in March and April because we're still having winter.
Right.
So we pick the date when the people are ready to plant. Obviously, if they're going away in May and they don't want it until June, that's fine. We just, we work with the customers.
Well, that's wonderful. And that's the benefit of ordering from someone and dealing with someone like a small business like you, because you are giving that personal touch, right? It's not just shipping on a computer date or being triggered by other things, that you are cognizant of. Like, you knew that the spring you had to hold things back because of the weather. So I think, that really makes you stand out, Dawn. I think that makes it, your business really successful that way, I think. Don't you?
No, because we truly, that's one of the things I think I have on my front page is we truly care.
Yeah.
We want our plants to go, we want to ship the plants when you're ready to plant them. We don't want to ship the plants and you have to baby them or put them in storage or whatever. And, we set a tentative date, and then all of a sudden if something changes with you, like winter's really still in your area, then you just email us and say, hold it. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hold off. And,
So how is your inventory now? Like, if people wanted 3s and 4s of 5s of things, let's say.
Yeah, we're still okay.
You're still good?
Yep.
That is great.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, so there's the Daylilies in Bloom is kind of a special thing. You said some music or something else happening? No, okay.
No, but that would be always a great idea.
Yeah. Put that on the list.
I know. We do know a great sax player.
There you go. There you go. Excellent. Well, Gary, maybe we can do something about that. He's the music guy here.
There you go.
So I want to thank you again. I want to remind everybody to check out your website at Gardens Plus, remembering the S.ca. You're also on, where can people find you on social media?
Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, Facebook. We don't do the Twitter thing so much, but definitely Instagram. We love when people follow us. We love when people share. So for sure, Facebook and Instagram, I would say, are our top two.
Okay. And you have a newsletter on your website.
Yes.
Yes, that people can sign up, and then that way you kind of update everything. And
yeah. So I'm hoping to get one done tomorrow, basically saying shipping's done. Thank you very much.
Lots of notice. You're giving everybody all that notice. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, it's on the website. We always have a pop-up on the website to what's happening with shipping.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been covered. It's been on there.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, yeah. So we do a newsletter. I try to do them once a month, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work. But
it's hard.
I should do them more in the winter if I would only just,
plan ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, mine went out last week as well. So.
Yes, very great. It's a very good newsletter.
Well, thank you. So I hope you get a rush of orders from our show for tonight and tomorrow.
That's okay. If they can't order, just come and visit.
That's right. And we would definitely please, where do I have your address here? So you're located in Donwood, 2 kilometers east of Peterborough. So all of the people in the GTA that want to go for a lovely drive, you can check out Gardens Plus.
Awesome.
So thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye, Gary. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was great. So I hope everybody enjoyed our perennial talk and realize I want to remind everybody that it is not too late to plant. It is not too late to get a landscape design. There's still plenty of summer and gardening season left. So I'm happy to help with any of your gardening questions or designs. So you can find me at down2earth.ca, and you can sign up for my newsletter there. We were just talking about newsletters, and you get a seasonal tips guide that'll help you know what to do when in the garden. And each month, that's what my Down the Garden Path newsletter does too. It tells you what to do each month, or sometimes what not to do. So like stop fertilizing your grass. And we didn't get any grass questions, Gary. I can't believe it. Matt's not here.
That's right.
There were no lawn questions for Dawn, but I did on my way here. I noticed a man out with his spreader spreading fertilizer, and it's like, no, stop doing that. So no fertilizing, no need to fertilize. It's with the heat. It's the lawn. No matter what we do, the lawn is going to go dormant, and you're just going to burn it by fertilizing it. So there's my parting tip that we always manage to have something about lawns.
Good.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back next week with Matthew back joining us here on Down the Garden Path on Reality Radio 101.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your hosts, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.